Buddy was a 12-year-old black Labrador with a graying muzzle, deep brown eyes that had seen 1,000 sunrises, a worn brown leather collar with a small brass tag that read simply, Buddy, and a slow, gentle walk that had replaced the bounding run of his younger years. His back legs had grown stiff over the past winter, but every single morning without fail, he would pull himself up from his old plaid dog bed in the corner of the bedroom, stretch slowly, and walk to the door. Because morning meant one thing. Morning meant Thomas. Thomas was a 71-year-old man with white hair, a quiet voice, broad shoulders that had rounded slightly with age, and hands that were large and steady and always warm. He lived alone in a small cream-colored house at the end of a quiet street lined with maple trees. He had lived there for 34 years. Buddy had lived there for 12 of them. They had found each other at a shelter on a rainy October afternoon when Buddy was just 8 weeks old and Thomas had only gone in to donate some blankets. He came out with a puppy asleep in his coat pocket. His daughter had shaken her head and laughed. Thomas had smiled the quiet smile of a man who had just made the best decision of his life. Every morning at exactly 7, they walked together down the same street, past the maple trees, past the red letterbox at number 14, past the old stone wall covered in ivy, past the small bakery on the corner that always smelled of warm bread even from the outside. Thomas walked slowly because Buddy walked slowly now, and Thomas had all the time in the world for Buddy. He always carried 2 things on the walk, a small bag of treats in his left coat pocket, and Buddy's lead held loosely in his right hand. Not tight. Never tight. Buddy never needed it tight. He always stayed close. He had always stayed close. People on the street knew them. The woman at the bakery would wave. The young man who walked his bicycle to work every morning would stop and scratch behind Buddy's ears, and Buddy would lean into it with his eyes half closed. The 2 little girls from number 22 would run to the gate when they heard the slow click of Buddy's nails on the pavement and press their small faces through the bars, and Buddy would sniff their hands with great seriousness, as if conducting important business. The walk took 40 minutes when Buddy was young and fast. Now it took just over an hour. Thomas did not mind even slightly. He had told his daughter once that the walk was not about the distance and not about the exercise. It was about the morning air and the maple trees and the warm bread smell from the bakery and the fact that Buddy's tail still wagged the moment the lead came off the hook by the door. Still, after 12 years, still wagged like it was the first walk of his entire life. One Thursday morning in early November, Thomas clipped the lead onto Buddy's collar the way he had done 4,300 and something times before. Buddy pulled himself up slowly from the plaid bed. His back legs trembled once, then steadied. Thomas held the door open, and the cold morning air came in, smelling of fallen maple leaves and distant wood smoke. Buddy stood in the doorway for a moment and lifted his gray muzzle and breathed it in deeply, eyes half closing, tail moving in one long, slow sweep. They walked slower than usual that morning, past the maple trees, which had gone fully gold and were beginning to let go of their leaves in the quiet wind, past the red letterbox, past the ivy wall. When they reached the bakery corner, Buddy stopped and sat down on the pavement the way he used to sit when he was tired. Thomas sat down on the low stone wall beside him without a word. He reached into his left coat pocket and gave Buddy a treat. Buddy took it gently from his palm and chewed it slowly. Thomas put his large, warm hand on top of Buddy's gray head and kept it there. They sat like that for a long time, the 2 of them, watching the maple leaves come down one by one in the quiet November morning. Thomas said his name once, just once, softly. Buddy looked up at him with those deep brown eyes that had seen 1,000 sunrises and leaned his whole gray head into Thomas's hand. They walked home slowly. Buddy went to his plaid bed in the corner of the bedroom. Thomas sat in the chair beside him the way he sometimes did. He kept his hand on Buddy's side, feeling him breathe, slow and warm and steady. That was their last walk, but if you asked Thomas, he would tell you it was also their best one.